The ship hovered in the void, its lights casting eerie shadows over the colossal alien graveyard. A massive field of tombstones, stretching for miles, floated in silence, orbiting a tiny village built from twisted metal and ancient stone. The crew of the Oblivion Huiti had stumbled upon something no human had ever seen before. Commander Rourke stood at the airlock, staring at the village through his helmet's visor. The villagers, tall, thin figures cloaked in shimmering robes, watched them in silence. Their eyes, black as the abyss, reflected nothing. One of them stepped forward. "You should not be here," the alien murmured in a voice that seemed to echo inside their helmets. Rourke's crew exchanged nervous glances. "We're explorers," he said. "We mean no harm." The alien's expression remained unreadable. "Then do not enter the ruins. They are not for you." The warning was clear, but curiosity was a dangerous thing. That night, while the rest of the crew remained in their ship, Rourke slipped away. His boots barely made a sound as he stepped onto the rocky ground of the graveyard. His scanner buzzed, struggling to read the strange inscriptions on the tombstones, each one marked with a glowing symbol, pulsing like a heartbeat. Then he heard it, a whisper. He turned. Nothing. Just the endless rows of graves. Another whisper, closer this time. The words were in no language he knew, but somehow he understood them. "You're here too soon." A chill crept up his spine. He reached out, touching one of the tombstones. It was smooth and unnaturally cold. As his fingers brushed against the stone, a shock ran up his arm. He gasped, pulling back, but it was too late. Pain bloomed inside him, sharp and suffocating. His reflection in his visor flickered, his skin turning translucent, his veins glowing a sickly blue. His breath hitched. His body felt lighter, almost weightless. His fingers stretched, elongating. His eyes burned. He fell to his knees, gripping his chest as his heart pounded against his ribs. Then he saw them. The villagers were standing around him now, their faces somber. One reached out, placing a hand on his shoulder. "Now you understand?" it whispered. Rourke's helmet cracked open with a hiss, but he no longer needed it. The cold void did not suffocate him. It welcomed him. He looked at his hands, no longer human. His body shimmered like the villagers, shifting, dissolving. He tried to scream, but the sound never left his lips. His voice was gone, his past erased. He was no longer an explorer, no longer a man. He was just another spirit, bound to the graveyard. And another tombstone had begun to glow.